welcome to the definitive UFO news show with me, your host, Mr. Rob G. We're going to be going ahead and getting in some really good stuff today. We've had recently, in a recent week, we had another UFO whistleblower come out. And, initially, I didn't know what to think, right? So, leading up to this broadcast on News Nation, Ross Coulthard, shout out to Ross Coulthard. He brought forward Jake Barber, who was a former helicopter pilot who was tasked with retrieving craft contracted through the government, right? Through a contractor, that contractor obviously contracting the jobs with the government. He has told tales of retrieving top secret vehicles. He has also talked about retrieving some things that didn't make a lot of sense, some anomalous things. There was video that was also shared during that broadcast. We aired it live over on Spaced Out Radio, and actually, it may have simultaneously aired here on the Social Dig. Now, in this video, and we'll actually be able to take a look at it here in a moment, it depicts a rope hanging from a helicopter, looking down, about 150-foot rope, according to the pilot, essentially. And at the end of this rope is an object that a lot of people are split between. It's an egg-shaped object, and it is in a harness, and you see the helicopter sort of lifting it up, kind of moving it over a little bit. We talked about it the night that this aired and what our thoughts were. And a couple of days has gone by, so I figured, you know what, let's go ahead and do a new show over on the Social Dig, which is what we're doing here today. So we're going to kind of go over this because the thing is that, which was shocking to me, and let me just start with this. There's a lot of people out there that are kind of poking fun at this potential groundbreaking video, and I thought it should be my duty to go ahead and kind of just lay out why this makes sense, why maybe you should probably take this a little bit more seriously. Obviously, the video itself still needs to be vetted, because as we now know, the video was not a video depicting Jake Barber as the pilot. So it was from some other crash retrieval. However, during the episode, Jake Barber did also show some images of an sort of egg shaped object that he captured as well. So this is the meme of the day, right? I'm looking around YouTube and social media. When I'm looking into this thing, I'm finding a lot of pictures of Jake Barber or Ross Coulthard with hard boiled eggs or scrambled eggs or over easy eggs, and this is kind of what people are leaning into right now. And I think there's a problem there, right? And I think we can even tie this back to the whole drone situation, because the last two pretty big, and if you want to think about it, we still haven't figured out the drone thing yet. But if there is an anomalous component to that, it was stuck under the moniker drone or the label drone, right? Drone, quote unquote, throughout the investigation period. So a lot of people poke fun at it, says just drones. Now this comes out and it's immediately described as egg. So now everyone's going with the egg jokes. But this resonated with me. And I told you guys this the night that we did the episode, that when I saw the video, it resonated with me personally because the UFO sighting that I had sort of lines up with what this object looked like. And I'm actually going to show you tonight that there are other encounters where this egg-shaped object, tic-tac shaped object, if you will, has shown up historically, right? Because the debate will be, if this video is validated, the next thing the skeptics will say, And I'm okay with this because I would love to have skeptics join the conversation at any time. But the next step will be, okay, the video's been validated. Now skeptics will say that egg is reverse engineered material from our government, right? Because admittedly, Jake Barber stated that they retrieved secret black project crash craft for sure, and then these other weird things. So they're going to lump them all up in the same bucket. So I want to head that off, and I want to lay out facts and some things that should show you by the end of this show tonight, and we won't go too long, that very likely what we saw was authentic, right? There are other people around the world who have had the type of sighting that I've had, and if it was as in detailed as my sighting, because I was able to visualize what I saw with my naked eye and could make out details and things of that nature. So, and if you go back historically, anytime I've spoken about my sighting in the description, and it's labeled with MUFON because I submitted a MUFON report roughly 2 years ago that depicts exactly what I saw. So we're going to go ahead and jump into that here tonight and kind of lay it all out. Let me go ahead and see who's in here. We have Monica saying, "Holy digs." Hey, Monica, thanks for coming in. We got Lulu Bell. Hey, Lulu Bell, thanks for coming on in. We appreciate you showing up. Let's see here. Tim James. Hey, Tim James, thanks for coming on in. Miss Catherine Jones, I see you out there. Let's see. Fast Timmy, I see you out there. Joey Glow is here as well. Yeah, we're gonna go ahead and jump into some reasons why. So let me go ahead and bring up some of the graphics that we're gonna use here. It's all about this guy here. It's all about this guy here, Jake Barber. News Nation interviewed Jake Barber. This is where this all stems from. And I am going to get right on into this here. Uh, okay, back with you. I'm going to jump right into a video actually from this News Nation broadcast. So this is where they are kind of laying out some things here, and you're going to see Jake Barber talk about the egg-shaped the object that he actually came across. Let's see here if I could find that video. Okay, here we go. All right, so we're going to jump right on into it real quick here. Go ahead and check out this video.
Of 2024, Jake and the Skywatcher team conducted their own operation with a psionic asset to see if they could summon a UAP themselves.
Look, there's two. Look at this. Look at this. Look right here. Look at this one going down and this one going up.
This footage from another Skywatcher operation showing the team's protocols. The team hoped to quietly gather evidence for Skywatcher, but instead found themselves in danger once more. And Jake says a UAP dogfight erupted in the sky above them. He believes the craft summoned by the team was warring with a rogue UAP piloted by an unknown entity attempting to intercept Skywatcher's operation.
Tell me what happened. So we set out to do this operation. Right away, when the psionic asset went into meditation, he is reporting that he is engaged and, in fact, piloting a craft and is bringing it in.
So he's actually telepathically controlling alien technology.
Yes. Yes. As crazy as that sounds, that's exactly what we set out to do, what he reported we would do. And then things got a little weird. Right about I'd say 4 or 5 minutes into the operation, he goes, something's going on, something's wrong, get me out of here. And right about that time, our Overwatch Fred looked up to the sky and saw a disc, a classic lenticular shaped disc.
That was Fred Baker, Special Operations veteran, now part of the Skywatcher team.
So he was flying the egg. And then when we had to pull him out of this, that's when the egg dropped.
Wow. So at the very moment that he's essentially detaching his mind from the object, you see it fall.
Correct.
Professor Gary Nolan was there that night too.
What I did see was an individual who, in the midst of attempting to call such an object, it was clear that he was in distress at the moment of the supposed interaction. And at that moment, something is seen. When we reviewed what it was that the person on the roof had seen, both by drawing and by videography, something showed up.
Can we see the egg?
Yeah. So here's frame one. It passed across our entire 69-degree angle of view in 0.84 seconds on our sensor. It comes into frame here.
So that one there does look like just an upright oval egg.
Oval egg.
And is that similar to what you've seen in the program?
Oh, yeah. This is exactly the same thing.
Aside from releasing data and footage like this to the public, we're told this video was among those sent to the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, or AARO, the Pentagon organization responsible for monitoring UAPs. The egg resembles the UAP encountered by US Navy fighters off the east coast of the US in 2015, suggesting a connection between these anomalous objects. But until now, it's never been shown to the public, making Jake's mission even more critical. The Skywatcher team feels it has to push the federal government to act. Witnesses at the congressional UAP hearings have been saying the same thing.
The Pentagon, the intelligence community is treating us like children. It's time for us to know the truth about this. I think that we can handle it.
Jake Barber has been to Capitol Hill too. NewsNation has confirmed that this fall he met with staffers for Florida Senator Marco Rubio, now President-elect Trump's pick for Secretary of State.
I feel I was able to fill in gaps that have been there for a long time that no other whistleblower has been able to do.
A lot of people aren't going to believe this. What do you say to those people?
I'm not here to make anyone believe anything. It's exhausting. I'll paraphrase the book of Matthew. You will know us by our fruits. Stay tuned in and watch what our new project is about to do, and prepare to be dazzled.
In August of
All right, so Jake Barber, interviewed by News Nation, shows off egg-shaped craft in that photograph that we saw there on the computer screen. And I think that's it's key, because not only were we exposed to one potential egg-shaped craft, we were exposed to two. The video, who was still taken by someone that we don't know, yet unidentified at the moment, but then also the photograph that was shown. So a lot of people, once again, made a lot of hubbub over what this could be. Omelets, I heard scrambled eggs, I heard all sorts of egg jokes in the last couple of days. And so we're going to go ahead and get into why it makes more sense that this is something that you should probably take seriously. As again, just like I stated, my sighting, which we'll end up getting into a little bit later here, you'll see why this resonated with me, and I kind of want to make sure we do take a look at that. So this, again, is the object in question. A rope 150 feet hanging from a helicopter, and this egg-shaped craft at the bottom of it. Very compelling, very compelling. I'm going to start off with this. Let me show you. This is an object that I took an image of in Reno. One of our viewers here, Miss Captain Jones, was there. She was present on this day. We were all having lunch out in Reno, let's see, last spring, and looked up in the sky about 11 o'clock position, and this is what we saw. So once again, an egg-shaped object that slowly moved across the sky and then we watched it as far as we could. It ended up continuing to go out, but we were about a mile away from the airport. Okay, so there you go. There's another sighting by someone who is not connected to this story at all, right? So you say, okay, that's kind of compelling. We're going to get into even more. Let me go ahead and show you what else we're looking at here. So we'll go ahead and start it off like this. Okay, common shapes being redacted. I think that's a big key, and it's something I brought up more and more over time because there was a point in time when the Arrow report was coming out, actually the UAP report, and for whatever reason, no one could figure out why, but common shapes were redacted. It was like, what harm is it to know what type of shapes that these people are reporting and that Arrow's investigating? Why not know that? Why would that be so secret? And as you'll find out later in some of the video I'm going to show you, I feel like really it has a lot to do with the fact that, for example, when I saw this egg-shaped video, it immediately resonated with me. So I think that's why shapes were redacted in the first place, because once you get to starting to talk about shapes, then you're not looking at the classic saucer-shaped craft. You're looking at something that's very strange. Like I know Ryan Graves talks about the huge square-shaped craft, right? So you get an image of that, that might tie into something that you saw and you didn't think anything of. You thought it was weird, but you wouldn't connect it to potentially extraterrestrial craft, right? So that would be one thing. Shapes were redacted until this came out. And I think I can bring up on a big screen, but this is going to show you the type of reports that they were receiving while putting together the UAP report. Okay. And you'll see most of this 47% are orbs, round spheres. Let me bring that up for Okay, so 47% orbs around spheres. Okay, so they finally are now admitting what type of shapes they're capturing. That object, obviously, that is in the alleged crash retrieval video, falls in the orb, round, sphere shape category. So it's consistent with the reports that have been given to Arrow, right? So let's start there. Let's build the groundwork on why this video that was recently released is likely the real deal. And like I say, I won't put my stamp on that until we get more information about who took the video. But I can tell you that if that video was fake or hoaxed, the person that did it understood what to use. Because why use an egg if you think about it, right? There's so many. If you wanted to fake a video and make it seem mysterious and anomalous, why would you go with this particular shape? You could have done anything else. You could have added little flares or flanges on this object. You could have made it look really like it's from somewhere else, right? And not something that looks like a chicken egg, which is commonly found here on Earth, right? You'd go for something that probably, would look very strange comparing it to anything that we know here on planet Earth. So that's one of the first flags right there, as far as is anyone that might think that video had been faked or, it just doesn't make sense that that's the shape that they would go with when faking a video. So likely not faked, likely real deal based on that reason alone, and then also the reports that we had gotten through Arrow. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and continue because this isn't, now that we know that shapes like these have been reported and are reported more than other shapes, let's get into some other things here. The Nimitz Tic-Tac UFO incident. We're going to start with that one first because it's already the one that everybody knows. It's the one that, because it's still so new, that a lot of people can still sit up and say, "Oh, well, you know what? That might be government tech. That could be that's ours." I've heard people say that. I don't know where people get this idea from because, as I've stated many times before, there has never been a time that the United States, or any country for that matter, has come out with a new top secret, vehicle, and it tied anything into what it is that we're seeing. But we'll start with this so we can go ahead and get this one out the way. So the Nimitz Tic-Tac UFO incident, and this is for the people who don't really know about this particular incident, as famous as it is, but the 2004 Nimitz UFO encounter, often referred to as the Tic-Tac UFO incident, is one of the most compelling and well-documented cases in modern UFO history. The event unfolded over several days. In early November 2004, the USS Princeton, a guided missile cruiser operating with the USS Nimitz Carrier Strike Group, detected unidentified objects on its advanced radar system. These objects exhibited unusual flight characteristics, such as rapid accelerations, abrupt changes in direction, and the ability to hover at high altitudes before plunging to the sea within seconds. On November 14, 2004, two FA-18F Super Hornet jets from the USS Nimitz were dispatched to intercept one of the unidentified objects. The lead pilot, Commander David Fravor, and his weapon system officer reported seeing a white oblong object roughly the size of a commercial airliner, resembling a Tic Tac candy. The object was hovering above the ocean, and the water appeared to be churning as if something was submerged beneath the surface. When Fravor approached the object, it reacted rapidly, ascending and maneuvering in ways that defied conventional aerodynamics. The Tic Tac then accelerated and disappeared in an instant, reappearing seconds later at a location designated as the fighter jet's pre-planned rendezvous point, approximately 60 miles away. Now, characteristics of this UFO. So, a second later, captured infrared video of the object using the Advanced Targeting Forward-Looking Infrared, or ATFLIR system. The footage, now famously known as FLIR-1 video, shows the object moving at extraordinary speeds and with no visible means of propulsion, exhaust, or control surfaces. The Tic Tac object displayed several anomalous characteristics. The speed, it traveled at velocities far exceeding the capabilities of any known aircraft, including advanced military jets. The maneuverability, the object exhibited instantaneous acceleration, abrupt stops, sharp turns, defying the laws of inertia. Stealth, the object evaded radar detection at times and emitted no detectable heat signature, a hallmark of conventional propulsion systems. And the capability to hover. The craft hovered motionless before performing its high-speed maneuvers. Commander Fravor's account, supported by the testimony of other pilots and radar operators, has been central to the case. Fravor described the Tic Tac UFO as not behaving by the normal laws of physics and expressed awe at its capabilities. He emphasized that the object seemed to be aware of his presence, which is something to pin on the board, awareness, aware of his presence, and actively engaged in evasive maneuvers, right? That kind of rings true for the drone situation too. It went up, tried to film the drone, tried to get close to the drones, and they acted evasively, attempting to get away. So just let's keep all this in mind. Kevin Day, a senior radar operator aboard the USS Princeton, also reported the anomalies. He observed multiple objects over several days and noted their ability to operate in restricted military airspace without authorization or identification. The 2004 Nimitz encounter gained widespread attention in December 2017 when the New York Times article revealed the existence of the Pentagon's Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, or ATIP. The article included the release of the FLIR-1 video and accounts from military personnel involved in the incident. The U.S. Defense Department later confirmed the authenticity of the videos and acknowledged the presence of unidentified aerial phenomena, though it did not attribute them to extraterrestrial origins. In subsequent years, the Pentagon established the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, or ARROW, to investigate UAP sightings, highlighting the government's growing interest in these phenomena as potential security threats. Okay, so one of the most recent ones, there's been something that has actually happened since then, but just to kind of lay the groundwork, because anything that happens here in the current time, because technology has advanced so much, you have people that for whatever reason feel like the United States is advanced enough to be able to recreate something like this on their own, right? And so a lot of people are leaning into the Tic-Tac being government craft being tested on the military, which doesn't make sense. So, and let me actually go over this piece here. So, proponents of extraterrestrial hypothesis argue that the Tic-Tac object represents technology far beyond human capabilities, potentially of extraterrestrial origin, and cite its extraordinary performance and credible testimony of military personnel as evidence, which should be enough, right? Which should be enough. These guys are in the military. They see all sorts of craft. Maybe they don't see top secret craft every day, but they see everything else. They see everything else. And you know, their ethics are above board, right? So where do we get to a point to where we immediately begin questioning these accounts? So you got to take it at face value. I mean, and you should. I'm not telling you to do so, but I think it's something that you should consider having an open mind to when you listen to the information that we're going to put out here. So very compelling, but because it's in the modern time, then we'll use this one first, because there are other ones that should not fit that bill. And we're going to go ahead and get into some of those things, because on the Tic-Tac issue, skeptics also argue that this could be experimental military craft, atmospheric phenomena, sensor malfunctions, just the whole gamut of excuses. However, these theories fall to account for the consistency of radar data, pilot testimony, and infrared video evidence. Physicist and UFO researcher Dr. Eric Davis has suggested that the Tic-Tac may represent breakthrough propulsion technologies such as gravitational field manipulation, while others view it as an opportunity to investigate unknown phenomena scientifically. So, one that I don't think that you could really write off, or that you can explain away with some of the current excuses that get used here. This would be the Lonnie Zamora, the Socorro UFO incident. So this is April 24th, 1964. So let's put that into perspective. We hadn't landed on the moon yet, if we ever really did, right? But we hadn't landed on the moon yet. Very, very early on in the space race, I think we had only Sputnik, I think, went into orbit in the late 50s. I want to say 57, 58, 59, somewhere in there. So the space race was very young. Project Blue Book was in full swing, and it had only been, 17 years since Roswell at this point. Okay, so let's put that into perspective. Now, obviously, with the Socorro UFO incident, police officer Lonnie Zamora reported an egg-shaped craft on the ground, supported by landing legs. He observed two humanoid figures near the craft before it ascended slightly and quickly disappeared. So it was a metallic egg shape, white coloration with a red insignia. Okay, so if you look at what has been shown in the video and you listen to these descriptions, These descriptions line up. It makes sense, right? Once again, thinking back, if someone was going to fake this video, wouldn't you use something that people that's more widely recognized as a UFO, like a disc or just something different, right? Something more compelling, right? All right. So the Socorro UFO incident, which occurred April 24th, 1964, near Socorro, New Mexico, remains one of the most well documented and intriguing UFO sightings in UFO history. It involved police officer Lonnie Zamora, a credible witness whose detailed account of a close encounter with an unidentified craft continues to intrigue researchers and skeptics alike. On the afternoon of April 24th, Lonnie Zamora was pursuing a speeding car on the outskirts of Socorro when he heard a loud noise and observed a flame in the sky. Believing it might be an explosion from a dynamite shack in the area, Zamora broke off his pursuit and drove toward the source of the noise. Upon cresting the hill, he saw an unusual egg-shaped craft resting on the ground in a gully. The object was metallic, white in color, and about the size of a small car. It rested on slender landing legs, bore a strange red insignia, a crescent-like symbol with a vertical line through it. Zamora also reported seeing two small humanoid figures near the craft, though they quickly retreated as he approached. As Zamora observed from a safe distance, the craft emitted a loud roar, producing blue and orange flames from its underside. It then lifted off the ground, rose into the sky, and accelerated away silently, leaving behind a scorched area and imprints in the soil where the landing legs had rested. So, some physical evidence on the site: burned vegetation, grass and bushes near the landing site were scorched, consistent with the craft's reported fiery exhaust. Landing impressions, four symmetrical indentations in the ground corresponded to the craft's landing legs. Investigators discovered a fused glass-like substance in the soil, which was analyzed but never conclusively identified as well. And the incident was quickly reported to local and federal authorities, prompting an investigation by the U.S. Air Force's Project Blue Book, led by Captain Hector Quintanilla, renowned UFO researcher Dr. J. Allen Hynek, and a consultant to Blue Book also examined the case. Investigators were impressed by Zamora's credibility and consistent testimony. Described as a well-respected, level-headed officer with no prior interest in UFOs, Zamora had no apparent motive for fabricating his story. Additionally, there were witnesses in Socorro reporting seeing a mysterious flame in the sky around the same time, corroborating parts of his account. Despite extensive efforts, Project Blue Book could not identify a conventional explanation for the incident. Theories ranging from experimental military craft to elaborate hoaxes were explored but lacked supporting evidence. In the end, the Socorro UFO incident was classified as unknown, a designation reserved for only the most baffling of cases. All right. So we're going to go ahead and get into that once again, looking at as we go forward. But doing research on this, while researching the show, there were other things that I came across, because historically we know there have been, even recent times, there's been reports of pilots saying that they saw cylindrical objects flying overhead. There in the 50s, there were reports of propane or butane tanks as well. And there was another one. So we're talking Lonnie Zamora in 1964. We're at that time, 17 years out from Roswell. Likely, very likely not government tech and it's obvious because we had what came out. I don't even know if the SR-71 was out yet. It may have been, but they were working on the F F-117 Nighthawk at this time, right? Maybe potentially. So the design language, as I pointed out, that I actually don't have the slide for that, but the design language for all previous black craft were angular, triangle, had angles, things of that nature. Nothing that even resembled what we're looking at here on the screen, which is egg shaped, if you want to say that, is also tic-tac shaped, if you want to say that. Is it possible that all these are one and the same? It's likely as we go on, and a lot of you may not have even heard of this one. This one actually also kind of blew my mind because it was the first time I heard of this account as well. But in 1965, and we'll kind of skim through some of these because Lonnie Zamora, I think, was one of the better cases, older cases, because you see how well they actually documented it. This is right after the sighting. They're on the scene. He's examining where the indentations in the ground and the scorched earth. So a lot of good data that was captured from that moment, which I think is really helpful, especially in this talk that we're having today, because it was once again listed as an unknown in Project Blue Book. They couldn't figure it out. They didn't have any explanation for it. And neither do we today, 60 years later, right? So these were the insignias, right, that were shown on the side of the craft where that Lonnie Moore stated that he saw, which I guess is now the ones that we see here. Let me get it a little closer here. The Sergeant Chavez says that Socorro policemen had told him that the sighting had red markings on its silvery side. Chavez said the officer told him that the design was an inverted triangle with 3 crossings on it, but that the Air Force had told him not to discuss the markings. Why? For what reason? Once again, going back to redacted shapes, because if you knew that, you may be able to, kind of put the puzzle together yourself and figure out what it is that you're dealing with. This is the other half of the letter I wanted to show here. It shows more of the drawings. Observe insignia located approximately at the center of the object as seen from above the side. So this is all original paperwork here that we're looking at from the time of the Lonnie Zamora incident, which I think is actually pretty awesome. So let's go. Once again, pretty awesome. And let's see. Getting further into this now, once again, we're getting in now to the sighting that blew my mind a little bit here. So, Valensole UFO 1965. Who's heard of this? Tell me, who has heard of this particular sighting? Not I. But the Valensole UFO encounter, which also depicts an egg-shaped craft, story sounds very similar to Lonnie Zamora. So we're talking about, let me see, what were the dates here? So these sightings were, Lonnie Zamora was April 24th, 1964. This Valensole UFO encounter was July 1st, 1965. So just a little over the year, pretty much the same type of depiction here. So this is actually in Valensole, France. Farmer Maurice Massé encountered an egg-shaped craft in his lavender field. He observed 2 small humanoid beings who appeared to be taking samples. The craft left a circular impression in the ground before ascending silently. It was smooth, metallic egg-shaped, and the Valensole UFO encounter, which occurred on July 1st, 1965, Maurice Massé was tending to his lavender fields near the small village of Valensole. Around 5:45 a.m., he noticed a strange object descending from the sky. Initially mistaking it for a helicopter, Massey approached the object out of curiosity. As he drew closer, he realized it was unlike anything he had ever seen. The craft was egg-shaped, about the size of a car, and rested on four thin legs. Its surface appeared metallic and smooth, with no visible seams or rivets. Near the craft, Massey observed two small humanoid beings, approximately 4 feet tall, with large heads, almond shaped eyes, and slender bodies. They appeared to be collecting samples from the ground using a tube like device. When Massey got about 15 feet off the scene, one of the beings turned to face him. It raised a small object emitting a paralyzing beam, rendering Massey immobile. Unable to move or speak, Massey could only watch as the beings returned to their craft, which then ascended silently into the sky, leaving behind a circular impression on the ground. Some of the physical evidence sounds pretty similar here. Had landing marks. The craft's four landing legs left distinct indentations in the soil, forming a circular pattern. The soil analysis, the investigators found that the soil in the circular area had undergone changes. It had become hardened, almost as if baked, and showed reduced water absorption compared to the surrounding areas. Also, the lavender plants near the landing site exhibited unusual growth patterns in some areas of damage. These effects persisted for years after the event. Massey was a well respected member of his community, known for his honesty and practicality. He had no history of fabricating stories or seeking attention, and the encounter profoundly affected him. Following the incident, Massey became more reserved and contemplative, often reflecting on the experience. His emotional behavioral changes were noted by his friends and family, who described him as a man transformed by an event he could not fully understand. This shift in demeanor convinced many that Massey had genuinely experienced something extraordinary. And just to stop there for a moment, his emotional and behavioral changes were noted by friends and family, who described him as transformed by an event that he could not fully understand. And if you recall, if you watch the News Nation story on this potential alleged crash retrieval, then you'll hear Jake Baker, the latest whistleblower, to come out, and he says pretty much the same thing, that he was forever changed by an event that really has affected him, and not just him. The story goes on. How many other experiencers have said the exact same thing, right? So this goes more into the thing I like to say, leaning on historical facts and historical knowledge, then using some common sense to put the pieces together, because these stories don't sound similar, out of by coincidence. It is more likely that these stories sound similar because these events took place, right? The angle from a skeptic is always going to be, oh, they were mistaken or they lied. That can't be the answer for everything. It can't be, right? And then now that we have a pretty clear video of potentially a craft that's anomalous, and then we're lining it up with things that have happened in the past, I think you have to walk away, if you're open minded, at least thinking about it, right? And so we'll get into some more of that too. So, investigative theories. The Valensole incident gained attention from the local authorities, UFO researchers, and even international organizations. French police conducted an initial investigation, while notable UFO researchers like Aimé Michel and Jacques Vallée analyzed the case in depth. Several theories have been proposed to explain the encounter, including proponents argue that the craft and beings described by Massey fit the profile of extraterrestrial visitors conducting research or gathering resources. Let's see. Skeptics come with the same thing, stating Massey has probably encountered an experimental military craft or personnel, though no evidence supports the claim, which is the most important thing. There's never any evidence that supports a claim for a military experiment or military object. You know, we've had mistaken UFO sightings with the F-117 Nighthawk in the past. A lot of people thought they were UFOs. It was very weird shaped, triangle shaped aircraft, and it had been spotted occasionally. And a lot of people thought that was UFO. Turned out not to be, right? But there isn't any sort of design language or anything that has come out of these black projects that even seems relatable to the type of things that are being reported as anomalous. So we'll keep going here. Some theorists speculate Massey experienced a vivid hallucination, and detailed account and the physical evidence make this explanation unlikely. Um, I don't know. I don't know if I agree with that, right? Because we're talking about 1 year from the Lonnie Zamora incident. Obviously, we listed the credibility of Lonnie Zamora and how detailed that case was researched and evidence gathered. This sighting a year later almost mirrors the Lonnie Zamora experience. It literally almost mirrors it. So you have to ask yourself, definitely we can, I'm saying in the 60s, mid 60s, we could definitely cross out any sort of advanced tech from anyone, when the US government, anybody. Nothing, well, I don't think we had anything. It's very unlikely that we had anything close to this back in the 60s. So, two cases that line up with this new UFO crash retrieval video that you can't put on black projects. So, if the video checks out, then I'm not going to tell you what to say, but I'm feeling like we're looking at something game changing. So, a couple questions that I would want to know, right? Especially if I had the chance to talk to Jake Barber or Ross Coulthard or whoever retrieved whoever filmed the video. I'd like to know, where is it now? Because it was obviously taken from where it was. The video depicts that, and it was taken to a place. So where was it taken to? I think we need to figure that out, or I don't, maybe Ross can look into that. Also, I don't know, I don't recall. I rewatched the video again. I don't recall if the geographical area was mentioned, but I know it was on a test range, I believe, is what I'm led to believe. Now I'm gonna tell you, I can show you hundreds of these things in just a few videos, in a few images and videos that I have. I can show you hundreds of things that match this same description, right? Just a few videos, but you'll get what I mean by the end of this, because I think really the objects that we're going to look at today, I think, are being seen like all the time. In all over the globe. So I'm thinking there's probably hundreds to thousands to maybe even hundreds of thousands of the type of objects we're going to look at today. So let's go ahead and continue on with this here. Let's see, what do we got here? All right, so we're going to jump into some things that match this. And these are some of the things that are being reported to Arrow, have been reported to the ATIP, the UAP Task Force for all these years, even back to Project Blue Book. These things were being reported back then, the objects that we're about to look at right now. And these are in our skies as we speak. Now, theory is that these eggs and the things we're about to look at are one and the same. And you'll see why I feel that way. But as we move further along, obviously a fleet of white metallic objects in the sky of Oakland, California in October of 2020. So literally 4 years, what, a little over 4 years ago. Let's see if we can zoom in on that. I think I have a zoom in. This is the zoomed in image here. Let me go ahead and get that on. All right. So that was zoomed in, right? I don't know how many objects are there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. I believe it's 21. 21 objects, egg shaped, sphere shaped, whichever way you want to go with it, objects in the sky in a formation in the middle of the day. I think this was later in the, I think it was right around 5 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock. All right, let's move on. These are some objects that were taken from New Fork's website. I jumped in there because initially with my sighting, I wanted to go in. None of this had come out, right? Shapes at the time of my sighting were still redacted. When it comes down to researching something that you see that's strange, you hop in, you try to find other things that line up with it. So I went into New Fork and I found objects that were identical to the objects that I filmed. This was a set of them right here. So what you're seeing here, and I'll have a better animation for you in a moment, but these objects, so regardless on how they come through on photographs, these objects are oblong objects. At the time, I didn't call them egg shaped. I called them oblong, which essentially, if you say oblong and egg shaped, they line right up with each other. But these are black pipe-like objects that stick out of these objects. And these pipe-like objects retract in and out of the body of whatever this is. So at times, you'll see them like this with these black objects sticking out. And at time they'll retract those in and you'll just see the spherical or oblong object, right? So this is in the New Fork database. These are the same thing as these here. Totally different incident. But once again, that's 21 there. In this incident here, they captured 4 and they sent the zoomed in image of it. And let's move on here. This one was out of the MUFON database as well. This was a screenshot from a video. So this, once again, is the same object. If you look, the white oblong object, sphere, egg, whatever you want to call it, and you can see the little black objects on these are just barely sticking out. So they retract in and out of these objects. Whatever the purpose for these black things are, I have no clue. I've thought about it, and I just have no idea what those things are or what they would be used for. But you may see them with them sticking out. You may see them with them, like in this image here, barely sticking out. Some of them, they're not sticking out at all. But they are the same object. So that was 21 in the first photo. It was 4 in the second one. And then there's 6 here on this one. Right? So that's 31 objects in 3 photos, 3 separate incidents. And actually, I think let's take a let me step away from this and show you. There is a MUFON video that I did bring aboard here that I want to show you. This kind of depicts the same objects in numbers in the sky. And then we'll get to the point of this in a minute, but let's check that out.
Case 112092. A Nevada witness at Las Vegas on October 28, 2020, at 5:04 p.m., filmed hundreds, possibly thousands of orbs repeatedly flying through the sky. All of them were flying together peacefully, making no sound. What was also seen were two larger ships, possibly motherships, pulsating rapidly amongst them. Take a look at the video we have on this.
Yeah, I seen it. That's a plane. There has to be 100 of them. What is that plane seeing? And that's the second large thing. Look, it just flew underneath them all. There's at least 150. Oh no, there's probably 1,000. If you look at how many tens there are. I hope this comes out on video. The fact that they're reflecting off of the sun.
Yeah. So once again, he estimated maybe 1,000. I don't know if there were that many, but there were definitely hundreds. Let's give hundreds, okay, of the objects that I just showed you in the previous images, showing that these things are frequently caught on camera. So it's not abnormal to capture objects like these. Tom King, friend of mine's, captures these sort of things all the time, right? Could those be the egg-shaped object? The object we see right here, the News Nation has released a video on. Imagine 1,000 of those in the sky. And then look back at that video. So I'll play it one more time. I'll play it one more time just for the effect, because think of this object that you're seeing at the end of this tether. And then look at this once again.
Case 112092. A Nevada witness at Las Vegas on October 28, 2020, at 5:04 p.m., filmed hundreds, possibly thousands of orbs repeatedly flying through the sky. All of them were flying together peacefully, making no sound. What was also seen were two larger ships, possibly motherships, pulsating rapidly amongst them. Take a look at the video we have on this.
Yeah, I seen it. That's a plane. There has to be 100 of them. What is that plane seeing? And that's the second large thing. Look, it just flew underneath them all. There's at least 150. Oh no, there's probably 1,000. If you look at how many tens there are. I hope this comes out.
Yes. So very compelling. and I'm going to get into more because okay, so that was 3 or 4 different incidents that we looked at. On top of the historical data that we have that says that there have been egg-shaped craft reported in the past. Now, for whatever reason, these white objects come in numbers. So, likely you'll see them solo likely sometimes as well, which was the Reno orb I showed you earlier. And I can bring that back up, but this one was all by itself. But generally, these things are seen in groups and in fleets and in formations, as you'll see in my own video. So this is always made me feel some kind of way when I watch the gimbal video and you hear the guy on the radio saying they're all it's a fleet and they're all going against the wind. When I've looked into just anomalous objects, these are the ones that tend to be found in formations and in large groups. Okay. These things also disappear from the sky completely. Okay. So let's go ahead and continue on with this. So just laying this out because I feel like that object right there might be the real deal, guys. It really might. So continuing on, this was a still image of the objects, same objects that you saw in the MUFON video. These ones were reported to Newport. These are the exact same things. Very common, very common. Coming up next, this was the same video, and this particular video, I don't recall where it was reported from, but it was similar to the video we just watched. There were hundreds of these things that passed through the frame of the video. These things are often seen in Mexico, which I'm going to show you in just a moment. But imagine that. Imagine the object that they just retrieved being one of these objects in the numbers that they're found in, right? So we can say with this particular photo, the video, the other ones we looked at, we're talking few hundred. Let's just say a few hundred. Let's say 500. Probably more than that, but let's put it around 500. Only on 4 different sightings. This is Mexico. This is Mexico. 2012, November 13th. The absolute same objects. As I bring it up full screen for likely that those objects, if this video checks out, these are likely the same objects. Imagine this being the object that has the black things that protrude out of it. Very likely, we don't know much more about this object than what we're seeing here, but it definitely ties to things like this. All right, so moving on. This was another sighting pulled from New Fork. I believe I'll zoom in on these as well. Let me see here. Okay, no, I didn't. But these are the objects I filmed. Same exact objects. Same exact objects as you saw in everything else that we looked at so far. This is a zoomed in photo of the objects that I filmed. Same black protruding objects sticking out. It goes in and out. So once again, you'll often see these things either with these black objects sticking out, or you'll just see the white spherical oblong object by itself, right? In my sighting, as I step back, take one step back here, I don't know if you get the full view of it, but I filmed 47 of these in one formation. 47. And I have a motion video. This, let me show you this here. This was actually recorded right here in the same city that I'm in. I'm in Bakersfield, California. And there was a video put out by UFO seekers that depicted an image. They actually had a really great video of it. It's like an 8-minute video, but I just took a little portion of it, and it depicts the same object that we're looking at here. So take a look at this. Very compelling. Did you see the object split into two at one point? And I know I saw a comment in there, and I kind of wanted to just speak to that because I put this out on Twitter initially, and Mick West actually came back immediately almost. It was like, oh, they're birds. No, they weren't birds. They weren't birds. As you saw clearly in that video, the object split into two. It was glowing for one at some points, and you saw those little black objects kind of protruding in and out of the object. Not a bird at all. Now I saw these things with my naked eye, so I actually have detail of what these things actually look like, right? So definitely not birds. More likely, so once again, the same thing that I filmed there or took a picture of in Reno is the same thing we just watched a video on, which is the same thing that you saw in Mexico in 2012, which is the same thing depicted in the previous photos that we saw, which all goes back to spherical oblong shaped objects that are in the sky. Now, at this point, you see, you're getting to understand how common these things are. They're up there. They're definitely up there. Now, they do fly in formations. Now, formations, V formations, let's just talk about that for a minute. Planes fly in V formations. UFO fleets historically have been shown to fly in V formations. Jeremy Corbell did a video, and I couldn't find the clip, but he spoke to the gimbal video and the unseen part of the video, the part everyone's waiting to see, because I guess there's a longer version of the video, and it depicts objects in a V formation. So I think the V formation has to do more with nature. It's a natural formation for whatever reason, and it's obviously not just it's not just something that happens here on Earth, right? So we'll go ahead and continue. We will go ahead and continue. Yeah, yeah, Joanne, yeah, the black things kept going in and out. So sometimes they're fully extended, as in the image I showed you here, which I can get back to that real quick. So just kind of going back through what we just looked at. All these objects. This one shows it the best. You can see the black objects barely sticking out of these. Zoomed in. Very round, oblong shapes. And then once again, they're sometimes fully extended like this. Like in my sighting, they were pretty extended. They may have been going in and out, but when they were flying right over my head and I'm looking right up at these things, maybe 1,000 feet up, maybe clear blue skies, not a cloud to obscure view, sun at 12 noon right overhead, and I'm looking at these things shining in the sun, and it is just blowing my mind at what I'm seeing, and I'm like, wow. So let me go ahead and get back to some more of this here. And as far as geese flying formation, decipher, this is one of the first things looked at. This has already been vetted. The MUFON video that you just saw, these things were investigated. Birds is obviously one of the first things they look at. Balloons, those are obviously the first two things that get looked at in any investigation, and those were ruled out. So, not birds, not balloons at all. Not birds, not balloons, but I'm going to show you what they look like to the naked eye here in just a moment. All right, let me get back here. Look at that. All right. This is what they look like with the naked eye. So regardless on how they come across on film, this is what they look like to the naked eye. All right. And once again, getting back to the fact that most of these things reported to the UAP task or Arrow at this point are orb, round, or spherical objects. And I think I had one more. No, let me see here. Yeah, so these objects, as it shows in this image here, these objects were oblong, not perfectly round. They were oblong shaped objects. And I did this recreation photo. I did this about a year ago because I showed it on a previous show that I had done. And you see, if I can, thought I had the other slide here. All right, let me just put this one up. So yes, you can see that these things, I made sure when I made these that they weren't perfectly round. You can see that they have an oblong shape. And this just lines up with more of what it is that what we're seeing here with this current object. Now, the point of this is that was 47 in my case. So we're up to 5, 6, 700. Let's call it 6, 700. We're talking about 5 or 6 different sightings only. These things have been reported. If you go look in the Newport database, you'll see a list of these things there. Same thing with the MUFON directory. If you go there and you look up the cases of these particular objects, they're seen everywhere. They're in Mexico all the time. We had the egg-shaped story of the encounter in 1965 in France. So we're talking about a global thing. If you recall, Caroline Corey's Tear in the Sky. If you've watched that, there is a part of the documentary or film where they depict what they're calling a tear in the sky, which they're saying is potentially maybe some portal is right out here in California, right off the coast of the Catalina Islands, where the Tic-Tac incident occurred and where Kevin Day talked about seeing numerous objects coming in from 80,000 feet, dropping down to sea level, and then kind of heading out towards the Channel Islands, which is Catalina Island, Guadalupe Island, and all those sorts of things. So not far at all from where I'm at here. So with that said, I think I have maybe another slide here. So with so many of these things in our skies, very possible that one of those things had come down, been brought down, whether it was brought down by technology or whether it malfunctioned itself and went down. There's so many of those objects in the sky. It is very likely that you may find the occasional one or two of those things come out of the sky and stop working. And one thing I like to point to is, if you remember Ross Coulthard about 2 years ago, did the interview with the gentleman, I want to say he's down south somewhere, southern United States, where he has this metallic ball, which looks very much like the Mosul orb, right? Which was depicted flying through the air on its own, no discernible means of propulsion. And then the gentleman who had this metallic sphere said they had found it and that it would move on its own. Like they'd have it on the ground and on an even surface, and it would roll on its own, right? And then I think they shaved a little piece off of that, sent it off to with Gary Nolan to have it looked at to determine what it was, right? And there's other cases of those metallic spheres. So that goes back to the slide once again. Most things that they're capturing are orb round spheres. They're white, translucent, and silvery metallic as well, right? So out of all those objects that are up there, it's very likely that one of those may have come down at some point, which could very well be this retrieval video that we're looking at, right? And I'm doing all this because on the surface, someone who doesn't know this, someone who hasn't put these pieces of the puzzle together themselves or seen anything like this on their own is going to look at this video and just say and make egg jokes and just say, oh, it's nothing, it's an egg, It's got to be fake, right? But I'm showing you reasons why it's likely not fake, and that these objects are likely related to each other, if not the same thing. If not the same thing. All right. So let me go there. And I think I have a couple of other things here. All right. So what we're going to do here, this will be, we're going to go ahead and take a look at my video. So this is my video in action, right? So you saw some screenshots, but this is the video as I recorded it. Clear blue sky. Let me set the stage once again. Clear blue sky, August 28th, 2022. I see these objects in a cluster. I go to get my phone to film because they're metallic. You can see the sun gleaming off and glinting off of these objects. Very, very strange. When I go get the camera, they're coming from 11 o'clock, and now they're coming, I'd say they started about 10 o'clock. Let's say 10 o'clock. By the time I got the camera, they were probably at about 11 o'clock, coming across 12 o'clock, then 1 o'clock, and right about between 1 and 2 o'clock in the sky is right about where they all disappeared. There are 47 objects that can disappear at one time. And if you watch the video back, if you slow it down, which you have the option to do later on, you'll see that the number of objects in the video changes. So some of them disappear, then some of them reappear. So at times there's 47 at most. Sometimes there's only 45. And you'll see a lot of the same behaviors as you saw in the previous video. And I'm going to run that real quick. Here we go.
Really? They birds, y'all think? I know.
No, them ain't birds. No, they're not.
Those are little birds.
Dude, those are not birds. There's no way those are birds. Where'd they go? Can't see.
They're birds. I don't care what y'all say. They're birds.
Okay. All right, Kiara. Where? Where? Exactly. If they're birds, where they go, Kiari?
I don't know what that was.
Kiari, if those are birds, where did they just go? Nah, ain't no maybe. You would still see them, dude.
Well, the thing that was crazy was when I had first seen them, they were shining. It was like, that's what caught my eye. It was like, they were shining, and then they disappeared, and then
Yeah, because they are flying kind of weird.
They don't even look right, huh? Damn, they look hella weird. I don't see no wings flapping, man. Do you see wings flapping?
No.
So very, very, very compelling. And I'm telling you, with the naked eye, these things were oblong shaped. Each one of them had this black pipe like thing sticking out of the bottom. I'm looking up at these things like, what in the world is that? Like, what in the world is that? Okay. It just mind blown, mind blown. And when I saw this egg retrieval video, this lined up with my own experience and it lined up with examples from countless other individuals. And that's not even, I only gathered a few of the photos and videos from other accounts. There are so many that were not included in this that I put on other episodes that I've done about this. So if you go back and you look at my season 1 video, I think it's like episode 30, and it's called like white spheres in the sky or something along those lines. Then I have a lot more of the MUFON videos that line up with it that I put in there as well. Also video from Mexico where you saw those hundreds of them in the image. And I'm telling you, when you have that many objects in the sky so often, right? Because we're talking about you know, if we want to line these up as all related, I mean, we can go back to 1964 at least, and probably earlier than that, where objects shaped like this have been reported. So if they're this common, if this many people were able to get images of these things, MUFON has this many entries or requests to look into these issues. They've come back. All the cases that I've shown, that I showed in the video, my episode 30 video, those were listed as unknown. Investigation completed, listed as unknown objects, not birds, not balloons, not drones. All the prosaic explanations are the first ones that they look at when investigating the MUFON. You can talk to any investigator about that. And they were listed all as unknowns, right? So very likely when you have thousands, maybe even hundreds of thousands of these things floating through the sky as they do, that occasionally you may have one that ends up on the ground. And I believe that's what we're looking at, right? I won't put my stand until they validate this video is 100% of, you know, that they list the chain of custody on this video. Then I'll go even further in on it. But as long as this lines up, and even if it doesn't, right? Even if they come out tomorrow and say, hey, this video was hoaxed, I literally just showed you a list of objects that are anomalous, that are not made here on Earth, that are in our skies, that validates that we do have white spherical objects, as noted in the Aero UAP report, as admitted to in the Aero UAP report. And I think the further that we look into this video, the more information we get, we're just going to find more and more information about how real and authentic this actually is. So all the egg jokes, no, let's stop the egg jokes, because this is one of those situations where I talk about getting information that is good data and simply throwing it out because of a meme, because of an egg meme, or because of a drone meme, right? Then it's like, oh, it's egg, let's walk past it, when that's the mistake, because this actually ties, if real, if authentic video, ties into so many other cases that have been reported on UFOs for over the last 60 plus years. So definitely something that I wanted to make sure that everybody saw. And I want to make sure that I showed this video again, because as you just saw my objects, I want to show the one that happened here in Bakersfield as well a few years ago. Once again, the same thing. And then we'll bring it home in just a minute here. So here we go.
Case 112092. A Nevada witness at Las Vegas on October 28, 2020, at 5:04 p.m., filmed hundreds, possibly thousands of orbs repeatedly flying through the sky. All of them were flying together peacefully, making no sound. What was also seen were two larger ships, possibly motherships, pulsating rapidly amongst them. Take a look at the video we have on this.
Yeah, I seen it. Oh, that's a plane. There has to be 100 of them. What is that plane seeing? And that's the second large thing. Look, it just flew underneath them all. There's at least 150. Oh no, there's probably 1,000. If you look at how many tens there are. I hope this comes out on video. The fact that they're reflecting off of the sun.
All right. So, yes, definitely anomalous white oblong sphere like objects in the skies. So many different cases of this reported all around the world. Take some time, sometimes go on newfork.org, and which their website is completely free. And they have their sightings cataloged by shape, date, location. You can put any of those entries in there. and you'll find so many objects that match exactly what you just saw here. Now, question is, if one of those things you saw was on the ground, any one of those things that you saw in any of those videos or images that we looked at, so let's put the whole UFO crash retrieval video aside and just take the other videos and images that we looked at. If you take one of those objects and sit it on the ground right now, do you then have what you see in the UFO crash retrieval video? Now, from my own account, because I'm an eyewitness, I'm a firsthand eyewitness to my own sighting. So you guys see it through the video. I saw it literally with bare eye. So, and I can tell you the details on it, and that's what I depicted once again. Is I'll bring up here in this image for anyone who might be coming late. This is what those things look like with the naked eye. If you were to see them right now, you would see an oblong object and these whatever the pipe things are. I just can't even understand or begin to understand what the pipe-like object even means, why it's there, why it retracts sometimes it doesn't. But it's definitely something that we didn't make, because once again, in my own sighting, I can vouch for all 47 objects disappeared into clear blue thin air, just gone, completely gone. And there isn't anything made on this earth that is able to do that, right? So with that being said, I kind of want to just bring it home, because I look around ufology and I just have been pretty disappointed in the way people have looked at these last two cases. So the drone situation and the way people were, just tired of drones after a period of time. When that whole situation hadn't even been fleshed out, answers weren't given and still haven't been given and to this day on it. But a lot of attention spans within ufology kind of were really short and kind of wanted to move on, right? But you may have had and still may have, and we'll probably end up looking further into that. I'm going to get some details on where they are on that whole drone situation. Hopefully now that Donald Trump is in office, he said one day in that he would go ahead and address this drone thing, and I hope that happens. So maybe we get that this week. Maybe by the time we hit after hours on the weekend, that he has come out and said something about or given an explanation on what the drones were. But until then, they are still an unknown. And I think putting tag names on them like drones or eggs, I think kind of takes away from what it really is that we might be looking at or experiencing. So once again, look up at the skies, because I can guarantee you, as common as these things are, and as many times as these things have been filmed, you just might capture the same thing. Once again, Tom King has cameras pointed at the sky 24/7. He has a whole database of objects that fit this exact description, that make anomalous movements and all of the sorts. So with all that put together, you take all those things, ingredients, you put them together, you have objects that can't be explained, that 99.9% have not been made here. And then in relation to just the shape of them, are likely what we saw in the crash retrieval video. So don't just write it off. Let's stop making jokes, and let's take it seriously, because you might be witnessing one of the most crystal clear videos of something that isn't from this planet. With that being said, we're going to go ahead and get ready to shut this broadcast down here. Just a moment. Let me go ahead and get to some stuff here. I did want to point some things out. Coming soon, we have Social Bits, which I'm working on in the background. Some pre-recorded short-form content that'll be coming to this channel. And if you haven't already, as I haven't said this, please consider hitting a like and subscribe. Please hit the like button. If you haven't subscribed, consider doing that. We do shows here all the time. We break things down. We break stories down. We have awesome conversations we dive into topics that are sometimes very deep and tough to talk about as well, right here on the Social Dig. Please consider doing that. Also, I want to go ahead and give a shout out, which I'll do in a moment. But first, these are the shows that we have here. The one you're at right now, which is the Definitive UFO News Show, which we do whenever there's UFO news, because there's not news daily. But whenever we have something really good, we'll go ahead and fire up this show. Otherwise, we do have of the year, or at the start of this year. So we're really getting our shows back going again as I'm getting used to the new software here. And I think today went pretty good. So I'll watch this back and see where we could have improved. Also, I want you to know memberships are available. Memberships are available right here at the Social Dig. Become a social soldier today. You can do that by clicking the link in the description on this video here, and give a shout out to our members, which are Joanne, the Beekeeper, D. Nunley, Maggie M10, Flat 6, Miss Catherine Jones, Cosmic Joe Chronicles, West Decker or W. Decker, Still Pooh 69, and Polly Rotterman, good friend of the show. Definitely appreciate you guys helping out, because memberships go to being able to put on better shows, as I think we stepped up a level with this new setup, and we'll have some other fun things that'll be implemented into these shows now. So we have leveled up the experience here on the Social Dig, and we'll just continue doing that as we go along. So with that being said, we also have the social shop where you can get Social Dig swag, but there is an exclusive item, one that I'm doing through myself. So I'm going to show you the Humanity t-shirt, because the motto for this channel is everything that we do within any of these shows, the whole intent is to help positively progress humanity, for the positive progression of humanity, because we don't know where we're going to end up on the other side of disclosure. Sitting down, having these conversations, even though sometimes they're tough, is what helps us get there, right? And we're going to continue to do that right here on this channel. Let me go ahead and run I have a little short commercial for this, for the exclusive Humanity shirt. Let me go ahead and run that. Here we go. Welcome to the Social Shop, courtesy of the Social Dig. I am Mr. Rob G, and we are bringing you exclusive gear, and tonight's no different. We have Humanity t-shirts, the positive progression of humanity. Yes, you can go out into the world and proudly show everyone what humanity means to you. $32.99. And remember, if you're a social soldier, you get an additional 20% off the price. That's right. Being a social soldier gets you an additional 20% off. And keep in mind, depending where you are in the world, shipping fees and taxes will be applied. Bringing you exclusive gear right here at the Social Shop on the Social Dig. All right. Yes, that is the exclusive Humanity shirt, because I'm doing those. I'm pressing those up myself. So any orders for those, you can go to ordersocialswag@gmail.com. Shoot me an email there. Let me know the color and the size. And then if you saw there were different designs, let me know which design you would want to go with. And then you send the money through the Cash App to at Mr. Rob G, which is, I think I have that displayed here, right here. So Cash App at Mr. Rob G. Any support goes to help produce the show, and it is definitely appreciated. Consider picking up one of those Humanity shirts soon as you can. Soon as you can. And we're going to go ahead and get ready to wrap this thing up. Let me go ahead and make sure everybody has the number. So we have the phone number here at the Social Dig. You can call us, a 24/7 line. You can call it anytime. Put this number in your phone. Save it in. Put put the contact name as Rob G or Social Dig. That way you already have the number. If you have any experiences, anything that you want to talk about, call this number. We have a message line. You have a 3-minute limit. Leave your experience on the message line. Also, when we do the late night call-in shows, this is the number that you would call to get in to talk on the show, which is 856-843-3444, or that is 856 the dig. And if you happen to be outside the United States, you want to dial 001 first, then 856-843-3444, or that is 001-856-843 856 the dig. As we get ready to go ahead and shut this thing down, I just wanted to lay that out because I just see a lot of parody. I see a lot of a lot of people out there that don't seem to be invested in the what the potential for this crash retrieval video is. Once again, as the days go, I'm sure there's going to be information that comes out about the chain of custody. Who released this video? Who did it belong to? How did it get out? Right? And then we'll go ahead, and I'm pretty sure by the end of this, it's going to be a video that has been validated, confirmed, and then think about what we talked about on this episode. Think about all of the other similar items that are up there in the sky, possibly the same objects that are in the sky. Think about how many of them are flying through the sky each day. When you take these sightings alone, the 5 or 6 we looked at, and then you multiply that by, hundreds and hundreds of others that have had similar experiences or sightings, then the number of objects in the sky grows to an astronomical number. And you have to ask yourself, with that many objects in the sky, is it likely that one of those comes down at some point, regardless on if it's shot down, if it's brought down by some sort of tech, or if it malfunctions and ends up landing on its own? Either way it goes, I think you're going to find out that the objects we showed will be cataloged and will be remembered, I'm telling you, down the line as official UFOs, official objects that aren't from this planet, right? Because once again, show me something that can disappear into thin air, and then I'll show you a UFO. All right. With that being said, it has been a great show today. I definitely want to thank everybody for coming on out, hanging out right here on the the definitive UFO news network or news show with Mr. Rob G, as we get ready to go ahead and take it back to the house. But before I do, let me go ahead and just jump in the chat, because I know I kind of went through the information because I want to make sure we got it out, and I want to make sure that everyone's voices are heard. Let's see. Yeah, and Joanne. Tell Miss Rob G was trying to hold together. It's not birds. It's not birds. No, it's not. The first thing that gets checked out by any investigator, and it's obviously as an experiencer, if you see something, you got to run down your checklist. You got to cross things out. What are the most prosaic explanations for it? That's what you should do with each and every sighting. Run down the list. Cross off the list as you go, right? And I think that's what we have here. So moving down the list here, welcome to the show, Lee. Major Lee says AI says it's a nose cone from a Nimbus weather drone. Exactly. Decipher says the dots are too small. The dots are too small to see in detail. 5 megapixels per dot is insufficient evidence. And you'll find out, and we did find out during the whole drone situation, that it's not just UFOs that come out grainy. It's essentially anything you take a photo or video with any sort of camera. I don't care if you have an iPhone 35, it doesn't matter. The end result is as you saw, the images come out exactly the same way, right? So that's why it counts to have not only the video to back it up, but the video along with the experiencer, because I saw it through naked eyes. I'm not seeing it through cameras like everyone else is. I'm seeing it with naked eyes, and I'm looking at these spherical oblong objects floating across, and my girl, she's sitting there, and we're like, what in the world Like this doesn't even make any sense. And then to even further that, when they just all disappear, then it's really like that's really what sent it home. Was like, yes, that was something that definitely was not from here. Show me one thing on earth that can do that, and we'll relook at all this here. Open to options and information at all times here. Welcome to the show. Nice blue sky. Decipher. Let's see. If these things are 20 foot long, one is going to fly over someone's house. Why are they UFOs only at a distance and not a big craft overhead? You know, my theory is, and I'm glad we read that, because my theory is that these objects are not manned objects. They just don't seem they don't seem big enough to be like a traditional, what you'd call, what most people would say is a UFO or spaceship. They just seem to be like probes of some nature. So maybe extraterrestrial probes, maybe extraterrestrial drones. I don't believe that any of them have anything in them. Although, as you saw in the video, they're very lifelike. They seem like they are alive. And then you get that reported a lot as well. One thing I like to point to is the Jordan Peele Note movie, right? Everyone thought nuts and bolts craft, right? You go see the movie and you find out that no, the craft is actually alive. The craft is the alien. I got some of that in my own sighting and all the other ones we looked at. You can see these things seem to be alive, but I don't think that they are manned at all. And let me see. Let me go ahead and jump in here. No, we need that, Decipher, and I really appreciate you coming in and being critical, man. That's what it's all about. Thanks, Rob. I may be critical, but you're a good show. Appreciate you. And yeah, you definitely got to be critical, because as soon as my sighting came out, I threw it to the wolves. I put it on Twitter, said, hey, guys, have at it, and let's see what we come back with here. All right. And that looks like we're about caught up. Simon the Likeable is saying, thanks, Social Dig, Mr. Rob G. See everyone later. Welcome to the show, Major Lee. Social D, great presentation. We do appreciate you. Appreciate everything that you guys do by just coming and showing up and supporting. Once again, my name is Mr. Rob G. This is the Definitive UFO News Show, and we'll be back sooner than you know. You guys, check out this commercial one more time, and we're going to get up out of here later. Welcome to the Social Shop, courtesy of the Social Dig. I am Mr. Rob G, and we are bringing you exclusive gear, and tonight's no different. We have Humanity t-shirts, the positive progression of humanity. Yes, you can go out into the world and proudly show everyone what humanity means to you. $32.99. And remember, if you're a social soldier, you get an additional 20% off the price. That's right. Being a social soldier gets you an additional 20% off. And keep in mind, depending where you are in the world, shipping fees and taxes will be applied. Bringing you exclusive gear right here at the Social Shop on the Social Dig.